Everybody in this room wants to be successful, but let's be real. Some of you think you can't win because you don't have enough money, the right gear, or the right connections. You're waiting for a magic check or some big break to change your life. Let me tell you something, your success has nothing to do with the stuff you're waiting for, and everything to do what you're doing right now with what you already have. People get it twisted. They think success is something you can swipe a card for, something you can park in the driveway, something you can hang in the closet. They think they just had that one thing, that extra zero in the bank account, that shiny gadget everybody's posting online. They'd finally make it. But here's the truth nobody wants to hear. Success has never been for sale. You can't buy it. You can't rent it. And you can't borrow from somebody else. That's why people who win the lottery often end up broke again. They got the stuff, but they didn't have the mindset that builds the stuff. And without the mindset, the stuff disappears. Think about it. If success were really about possessions, then everyone driving a luxury car or wearing designer clothes would be fulfilled, respected, and on top of the world. But we all know that's not the case. There are people with more than you can imagine who still wake up miserable, still feel empty, still can't sleep at night. Why? Because their success was built on a foundation of things instead of a foundation of purpose and effort. The shine fades, the novelty wears off, and then you're left with yourself. If you're not proud of the person you become in the process, all that stuff doesn't mean a thing. We live in a culture that shouts, more, like the answer is always one more purchase away. But the real game is internal, not external. The real measurement of success isn't about the things you can show. It's about the person you've developed when nobody's looking. You can have the best laptop in the world, but if you're not disciplined enough to use it to build something meaningful, it's just an expensive paperweight. You can own the most high-tech gym equipment, but if you're not committed to showing up and putting in the work, it's just decoration in your house. The people you admire, the ones who inspire you, they didn't start by buying the right things. They started by becoming the right person. They worked when it wasn't convenient. They learned when it wasn't easy. They kept going when it wasn't fun. And eventually, yes, the money and the things came. But by then, they already understood those things weren't the source of their power. They knew the real wealth was the discipline, the resilience, the focus, and the confidence they built along the way. When you chase possessions, it's proof of your worth. You put your success in someone else's hands because all that stuff can be taken from you in a moment. But when you build your success from the inside out, through hard work, through personal growth, through habits that make you unstoppable, no one can touch that. You can lose the car, lose the house, lose the job, and still keep your success because it's not tied to what you own. The most valuable assets you'll ever have aren't sitting in your bank account. They're sitting inside you. Heart, mindset, and work ethic are the real engines of success. And they're worth more than any material possession you could ever acquire. Heart is your capacity to keep going when things get rough, when the plan falls apart, when you've been told no 100 times. It's the fire that keeps burning even when you're exhausted. Mindset is the lens you use to interpret the world. Two people can face the same obstacle. One sees a dead end. The other sees a detour. The only difference is how they think. Work ethic is the daily, gritty, unglamorous grind you're willing to brace when nobody's watching. It's doing what needs to be done, not just what you feel like doing. When you build from those three things, you're unstoppable because you're not depending on external factors to dictate your success. You can take someone with no degree, no money, and no fancy network. But if they have heart, the right mindset, and an unbreakable work ethic, they'll outlast and outperform the person with every advantage but no internal drive. That's because possession connections can open doors, but only personal character can keep you in the room. If you're lazy, entitled, or negative, no amount of stuff will save you. The opportunity will come and you'll still blow it. Heart is what gets you out of bed at 5 a.m. when there's nothing but silence in your own doubts. Mindset is what lets you see failure as feedback instead of a verdict. Work ethic is what makes you send the extra email. Make the call, do the extra rep when no one else bothers. And here's the thing, these qualities compound. Your heart fuels your mindset. Your mindset strengthens your work ethic. Your work ethic produces results which feed your heart. It becomes a self-sustaining loop. And once you built it, you can take it anywhere and apply it to anything. This is why you see people start in one field, crush it, then move to a completely different industry and crush it there too. They weren't successful because they had the right stuff for that one situation. They were successful because they had the right inner foundation for any situation. That foundation travels with you. It's not tied to one job, one market, or one time in history. If you strip away their title, their income, and their possessions, they still know how to win, because winning is a skill set, not a shopping list. Heart keeps you alive in the fight. Mindset keeps you aiming in the right direction. Work ethic moves you forward every single day. You can be stripped of every resource, every luxury, and still be dangerous in the game of life if you train those three things. Because the most important part of success will always be the person who's carrying it, not the things they're carrying. Most people sit around waiting for the perfect conditions to start, telling themselves they'll make a move when they have more money, better equipment, or the right connections. They convince themselves that once stars align, then they'll finally go all in. The problem is that perfect moment never comes. The people who actually succeed are the ones who stop waiting for more resources and start squeezing every drop out of what they already have. That's resourcefulness, the ability to create momentum out of nothing, to turn limitations into fuel, to build with scraps when everyone else is complaining they don't have the full kit. Resourcefulness is about seeing possibilities instead of excuses. It's the mindset that says, I might not have the best tools, but I can still get the job done. History is full of people who changed the game with less than what you have right now. They didn't wait for permission, and they didn't wait for perfect. They took the small platform they had, the single skill they had mastered, the one person in their network who believed in them, and they worked those things relentlessly until they multiplied. Every new step gave them a little more to work with, and that momentum is what built their eventual success. When you focus only on resources, you get stuck. You spend more time imagining what you could do if only you had more, instead of actually doing something with what you've got. But resourcefulness forces you to think creatively. If you don't have the budget for advertising, you learn to market yourself through relationships, social media, or word of mouth. If you don't have the best training, you learn from free videos, books, or trial and error. If you don't have the equipment, you find a way to borrow, share, or improvise. It's not about pretending your challenges don't exist. It's about refusing to let them stop you. This shift in thinking changes everything. When you rely on resources, you're limited whatever you currently own or can access. But when you rely on resourcefulness, you're limited only by your imagination and your willingness to work. You become someone who can create opportunity anywhere, under any conditions. That's why people who are truly resourceful can lose everything and still bounce back faster than others. They've trained themselves to see openings where most people see closed doors. The funny thing is, the more resourceful you are, the more resources you eventually gain. You prove to others you get things done without constant handouts. And then that attracts partnerships, investments, and trust. People want to work with someone who can make progress no matter the circumstances. And by the time you do get more resources, you know how to multiply them because you've already been building with less. That's when you realize the real power was never in the tools you had. It was in your ability to use whatever was in your hands to the fullest. People blame their lack of progress on not having enough money, but the truth is that money is rarely the main problem. What's holding most people back is the way they think. You can hand two people the exact same amount of money, and one will turn it into an empire while the other will waste it and end up back at zero. The difference isn't in the amount they started with. It's in their mindset. If you think small, act out of fear or look for shortcuts, no amount of cash will make you successful. But if you think big, focus on growth, and commit to the long game, even small resources can become something huge. Mindset determines how you use what you have. Someone with a growth mindset sees challenges as opportunities to learn, while someone with a fixed mindset sees them as proof they can't do it. The person with the right mindset will take a small budget and figure out how to stretch it, reinvest it, and make it work harder. The wrong mindset will take that same budget and spend it on things that look good now but bring no long-term return. This is why you hear stories about athletes, entertainers, or lauders who earn millions but end up broke. They had resources but not the thinking to manage or multiply them. Money can solve short-term problems, but mindset solves long-term ones. When you have the right mindset, you don't panic when money is low because you know how to adapt. You don't blow up your progress over one setback because you understand failure is part of the process. You don't get jealous of someone else's success because you know your time is coming if you stay disciplined. The wrong mindset, on the other hand, will cause you to sabotage yourself either by quitting too early, making reckless choices, or avoiding hard work. This is why mindset is a bigger asset than money. A strong mindset invests what makes you learning instead of spending on distractions. It's what pushes you to wake up early, work late, and use your time wisely when no one is watching. It's what allows you to stay hungry when others get complacent. And most importantly, it's what gives you the confidence to take calculated risks instead of staying stuck in the comfort zone. You can put someone with the right mindset in almost any situation, and they'll find a way to grow. They'll see opportunities where others see dead ends. They'll take a loss and turn it into a lesson that pays off later. They won't waste energy wishing they had more. They'll use their energy to create more. That's the difference between people who keep moving forward and people who stay in the same place year after year. Money can run out. Resources can be taken away. But the right mindset will keep creating, keep adapting, and keep building no matter what happens. Many people sit on their dreams because they think they need more before they can start. More skills, more tools, more money, more connections. They look at what they don't have and decide it's a reason to wait. But the truth is, the only way to get more is to start with what you've got and use it until it produces something greater. Waiting for perfect conditions keeps you standing still. While working with what's already in your hands creates momentum. Even if you don't have the ideal setup, you can still make progress, and progress compounds over time. When you commit to maxing out what you have, you stop wasting energy comparing yourself to others. Instead of focusing on what's missing, you focus on what's possible. Maybe your equipment isn't the latest model, but you use it every day until you've mastered it. Maybe your skill set is small, but you double down on those few strengths until they open new opportunities. The key is to refuse to let limitations define your ceiling. Every big success story started with someone making the most of a small start. Working what you have forces you to get creative. You learn how to problem solve because you can't throw money at the problem. You learn how to network because you can't buy access. You learn how to adapt because you don't have endless options. Those skills become part of your foundation. And when you do eventually get more resources, You'll know how to multiply them instead of wasting them. People who start with too much often skip the stage where they have to be resourceful. And because of that, they never build the muscles that keep success going in the long run. The process of maxing out what you have also builds discipline. When you're determined to get the most out of limited resources, you can't afford to waste time. You learn to plan your moves, use your energy wisely, and focus on actions that bring real results. This discipline carries over into every area of life, making you more efficient and effective no matter what you're working on. The truth is, not enough is often a story you tell yourself to avoid starting. You think you're waiting for the right moment, but really, you're waiting to feel comfortable. And comfort doesn't build success. The minute you decide to use every tool, every skill, every connection you already have to its fullest, you start creating opportunities that wouldn't have existed otherwise. And once you start moving, new resources begin to show up, not because they magically appeared, but because your action put you in the position to find them. The path to bigger and better always begins fully investing and fewer you already possess. Opportunities are everywhere, but most people miss them because they're looking for the ones with a price tag. Think that they can only make progress if they can't afford a course, pay for an expensive mentor, or buy the latest tools. The reality is, we live in a time where some of the most valuable opportunities in history are free. And yet people overlook them because they don't come wrapped in the packaging they expect. Knowledge is everywhere. In free books from the library, in videos and lectures online, in podcasts, in communities of like-minded people sharing their experiences. You can learn almost any skill without spending a dime if you're willing to put in the time and effort. Networking doesn't have to mean paying to attend a high-profile conference. It can mean starting conversations with people in your industry on social media. Volunteering for projects where you can meet experienced professionals, or reaching out to people whose work you admire. Some of the strongest connections are built in casual, no-cost interactions, simply because you took the initiative to show up and add value. It's not about having the biggest budget. It's about being intentional and consistent in building relationships. Hustle also doesn't require money. You can put in extra hours studying, practicing, and improving your craft with nothing more than the tools you already have. You can create content, share your ideas, and put your work into the world for free using platforms that didn't even exist a generation ago. You can test ideas, gather feedback, and improve without paying for expensive market research. The biggest investment in this phase isn't financial. It's your time, your focus, and your willingness to keep going. The problem is that people undervalue free opportunities because they don't demand a financial cost. When you don't pay money, it's easy to treat them casually and put them off. But if you treated free opportunities with the same seriousness as paid ones, your progress would multiply. The truth is, the value of an opportunity doesn't come from the price. It comes from what you do with it. A free resource applied with commitment can change your life more than an expensive resource you barely use. In today's world, the biggest gap between where you are and where you want to be isn't access, it's execution. The free tools, information, and connections are already out there, waiting for you to use them. You could spend your nights scrolling aimlessly, or you could spend them studying, building, and connecting. You could spend your weekends complaining about not having enough money to invest in yourself. Or you could spend them using every free avenue available to start building something right now. The difference comes down to whether you're willing to replace the excuse of, I can't afford it, with the decision to ask, how can I make it happen with what I already have? Success is not built on single moments of inspiration. It's built on the ability to keep showing up day after day, even when the excitement wears off. Stamina is what keeps you in the game long after other people have quit. It's the capacity to keep pushing through when things get repetitive, when the results are slower than you expected, when the grind feels heavier than the reward. Without stamina, you might start strong, but you won't finish with it. You can outlast people who might be more talented or better equipped than you. Mentality is the fiddle through which you see every challenge and every win. A strong mentality isn't about blind optimism. It's about choosing to see possibilities where others see problems and refusing to let setbacks define you. It's the mindset that understands hard days are part of the process, not a sign to stop. When you build a mentality like that, you can keep moving forward even when your circumstances don't give you a reason to. It's what makes you get back after a loss, try again after a failure, and believe in the future even when the present is messy. Consistency is the glue that ties stamina and mentality together. You can have the strongest mindset in the world, but if you only take action once in a while, you won't get anywhere. Consistency means showing up whether you feel like it or not, putting in the work even when no one is watching, and refusing to skip the small daily actions that compound over time into massive results. The truth is, consistency doesn't just build skills, it builds identity. Every time you show up and follow through, you're proving to yourself that you are the kind of person who does what they say they will do. That self-trust becomes one of your greatest strengths. When you combine stamina, mentality, and consistency, you become incredibly hard to stop. Stamina keeps you going when progress feels slow. Mentality keeps you focused when the path gets rough. Consistency ensures that every single day, you're stacking bricks toward your goal. This combination creates momentum that others can't see at first, but over time, it becomes undeniable. People might not understand how we're moving forward without big breaks or instant wins, but it's because you're committed to the long-term game. The reason so many people never reach their potential is that they treat success like a sprint instead of a marathon. They pour all their energy into the beginning, but when results don't come quickly, they burn out or give up. Stamina stops that from happening. The reason there's crumble under pressure that they never train their mentality to handle difficulty. And the reason most quit entirely is because they couldn't stay consistent long enough to see their work pay off. When you build these three traits, you remove those weaknesses and put yourself in the position to win, no matter how long it takes or how tough the road becomes. Excuses are the easiest thing in the world to make and the most expensive thing you can hold on to. They cost you time, opportunity, and momentum. Discipline is what destroys excuses before they have the chance to slow you down. It's the commitment to act according to your goals instead of your feelings. When you're disciplined, you don't wait for motivation to show up. You do the work whether you feel like it or not. That's the difference between people who talk of what they want and people who actually achieve it. Excuses will always have logic behind them. You can always tell yourself the timing isn't right. You're too tired. You don't have enough experience. Or you'll start tomorrow. But if you want results, you have to train yourself to hear those excuses and move anyway. Discipline is like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. At first, it's uncomfortable to push through resistance. But over time, it becomes part of who you are. You stop negotiating with yourself. You stop waiting for perfect conditions. You start seeing your commitments as non-negotiable, just like brushing your teeth or paying your bills. When you live with discipline, you create habits that make success inevitable. You don't have to rely on willpower every single day because your actions are on autopilot. You've trained yourself to follow a routine that keeps you moving forward, even on days when you'd rather quit. That's how you make pro moments most people give up. The small, consistent actions compound into something powerful over weeks, months, and years. Excuses work fast. They'll tell you that missing today won't matter, that you can double up tomorrow, that you've been working hard and deserve a break. And sure, rest is important. But the difference between recovery and avoidance. Recovery is intentional and strategic. Avoidance is an escape disguised as self-care. Discipline is what helps you know the difference, reminds you why you started in the first place, and pushes to follow through on that reason, even when it's uncomfortable. The truth is, life is never going to remove all the obstacles. There will always be something in the way, a lack of time, a lack of money, unexpected setbacks. If you're waiting for those things to disappear, you'll wait forever. Discipline allows you to move forward in spite of them. It keeps you working on the days when your circumstances aren't ideal because you understand that every day counts. The moment you choose discipline over excuses, you take control of your results. You stop being a victim of your environment and start becoming the kind of person who makes progress no matter what is happening around you. And once you see what that kind of consistency produces, you'll never want to go back to the old way of waiting, wishing, and making excuses. Stop chasing the stuff and start building the skills, the mindset, and the discipline. Because when you become the kind of person who can create success from nothing, you'll never have to worry about losing it. You'll just build it again, bigger and better.